Yes, it's true. Most first-time house hackers end up making the same 4 or 5 mistakes that everyone else makes, and I know about this because I'm a house hacker myself, I'm a real estate investor, and I'm a realtor based out of New York. My name is Mohammed. Welcome back to this week's episode of Closed by Mo. Now, if you're too lazy or if you really just don't like hearing my voice, scroll down to the description below and click on the link that will take you to the website's blog post, so that way you can maybe read it on the go. But if you really, for some reason, like to see my face, like to see me talking, like the sounds that are coming out of my mouth, go ahead and drop a like or a dislike or even a subscribe, because that really helps this YouTube channel. It helps to get in front of the people that are actually looking for this type of content. Without further ado, guys, let's jump into the top mistakes most first-time house hackers make. Now, my number one tip for most first-time house hackers or first-time investors is don't be unclear about what your goals are going into a particular project. Always figure out what your goals are, whether they're clear-cut targets or have a very general, vague sense of direction of where you're wanting to go, because that's what you're going to be backing into when it comes time to, let's say, make big-ticket purchases or renovations to the property or your project. What I mean by that is when you're house hacking, there's a couple of different avenues you can make money. You can do overall cash flow if that's your focus. So month by month, are your revenues greater than your expenses, or do you want a property, have price appreciation on your property? So there's a couple of different ways you can approach it, and the reason why it's important to have a clear-cut goals is, let's say, for example, if you're in a scenario where you bought the property and now a year later the property needs a new boiler or you want to update the roof, whatever it is. If, let's say, your priority is cash flow, you might not spend the extra money to get the nicer, more expensive boiler or appliances or the nicer roofing company, because that's going to eat into your monthly cash flow. But if you know that your end goal is to sell a property in a couple of years and get that nice appreciation, then it might make sense to spend a few $1,000s up front, because that's going to help you attract a better buyer down the line. Now, the second point on what not to do is don't use a conventional mortgage if you can help it. There's a lot of government-backed programs out there, notably the FHA, that gives you a lower down payment requirement, and sometimes the rate is actually a little bit lower as well. Those things come into play because, yes, you're going to be ending up taking a larger mortgage, but you're going to be saving a bunch of cash that you can then use to add value into the property, which takes me to my third point. Don't buy the most expensive house in the neighborhood. It sounds contrary to me as an agent, because the more expensive house you buy, the bigger the commission I'm going to make, but it just doesn't make any sense from an investor perspective, and I don't want to see you get into a bad deal, because if you're house hacking and you're buying the most expensive house in the neighborhood, guess what? There's not going to be any room for you to add value and get any kind of additional rent or any kind of additional price appreciation for that, because you're already capped out, which also ties into what your goals are, right? Maybe you're okay with that. Maybe you're okay with not having to worry about putting any work into the house while you're house hacking. You never know. The fourth and final point that I see a lot of first-time house hackers, making the mistake of, and I've made this mistake too, don't live in the best unit. And what I mean by that is, if you're house hacking, you're obviously buying a multifamily property, 4 units or below. There's going to be a couple of different units in that property, and let's assume that not all the units are the same. Maybe there's a basement unit, there's a third floor unit, whatever it is. Don't live in the best unit, because that's going to be, eating into your monthly cash flow. That's going to be eating into your bottom line at the end of the year, because you want to be able to, one, accelerate how quickly you can pay off that loan, or if you are using a mortgage, how quickly you can build equity into that house. And it's just a lot easier to rent out the better units, because you're not going to have, people are obviously wanting the better units at the best price, so you're going to save yourself a little bit of headache. And, do yourself a favor. Don't live in the best unit. Maybe stick it out for a year or two in one of the other smaller units, because that's going to help you overall, accelerate your goals, accelerate what your long-term vision is. With that, guys, I really appreciate you watching through the rest of this video. If you made it this far, go ahead and drop a like or subscribe. It really helps a lot with this YouTube channel. I will see you guys next Friday. Bye.